Everybody call this meeting to order of the August Town of Franklin Board of Aldermen meeting. The first item on the agenda is we had a full meeting on July 2nd, then we had a dinner meeting on July 26th, and there's been the minutes have been passed out in our package. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I would ask the board to make one small addition. And it's under in the July 2nd minutes, under the public hearing on proposed financing. Number one, I mean, it's all correct, and that's why I just say I want to make a little clarification, because these minutes will go to the LGC as part of the application for the refinancing that we're still pursuing. So with number one, I'd appreciate it if the board would specify that those are A, the town hall property, B, the public safety building, and C, the public works building.
What else we got? Is there a motion?
I so move.
With that,
With John's.
Motion second, all in favor, raise your hand. Okay. We got a little bit of time for the public hearing. Dan Williams, you signed up. What do you got to say, sir? Public session. If Dan Williams has signed up, anybody else want to be heard at a public session? Make it on something different, Dan. We're not going to plow the same ground. Okay. You want to be heard?
Yeah. Last meeting, the Indians showed up. Seemed like they were on the warpath. And nobody told them that they couldn't speak. Nobody told them they had 3 minutes. Nobody told them. Nobody interrupted them. I guess you were kind of polite to them, and they got to speak, and they got to say what they want. They don't live here. They're not residents. They don't pay no taxes here, and you weren't rude to them. What y'all treat me more like an Indian. I'm a resident. I pay taxes here, and it's like every time I get up here, you're rude to me. Very rude. That's okay. Just thought I'll mention it. Back in December, I ended up in the emergency room with the Angel Hospital. They told me that about 2 more hours it would have been too late. They put me in intensive care for a week. After a week in intensive care, they moved me to Asheville to the heart center. When I got to the heart center, they told me I had about 2 days to live. And what I needed was open heart surgery. So they seemed like they talked me into it. So we went for a 10-hour operation. After the operation, I was in a coma. The doctors told my family if I came out of the coma, there's maybe a 50% chance that I'd live. And the whole time I was on what they call a heart-lung machine. When I came out of the coma, and they told me they need to unplug me from the machine. I'm either going to live or die. The doctors told me later they thought they gave me no chance at all to live. Well, they unplugged me and I lived. I spent a couple more weeks in intensive care over in Asheville, in the heart center. I had enough of that, so I checked myself out. I came home and I hired a bunch of people to take care of me around the clock. And I got 3 local doctors trying to take care of me. I'm doing the best I can right now to keep alive. At the moment, I'm very, very, very sick, very sick. They're putting me back in the hospital next month. So far this year, I spent over $300,000 on medical care, just trying to get better. When I got out of the hospital, I spent 3 months in a wheelchair. I had people push me around. I had people taking care of me. I had to go to cardiac rehab for 3 months. I went to vocational rehab. I went to diabetic school. They had to teach me how to walk. They had to teach me how to eat. They had to teach me how to talk, everything I used to do, I had to learn all over again. Right now, they tell me I'm really sick. There's so many things I can't do. They gave me an 8-pound limit I could pick up. They said a gallon of milk, and anything more than that would be too much. I'm all stitched together right now. I got a bunch of piano wire holding my ribs together, holding my bones together. I'm in bad shape. Now, the reason I mention that is this is the 8th time in a row that I came here, the 8th time in a row that I've asked maybe the town to clean up Dogwood Drive. I've been doing it for the last 25 years, and I got to thank my neighbor, Tim Bates. He gets out with his track hoe and scrapes the road. It seems like Tim's been doing a good job, and I've been doing a good job, but I'm at the point now where they tell me I just can't do it. I can't do any manual work at all. And it seems like it's time for the town to do it, and I don't know if I got to ask 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 times, but I'll keep asking. I see Mr. Ritter here, he's got a big old pothole right in front of his house. I've been 10 years asking to get that pothole filled in, nothing at all. I've been asking to get the road cleaned up, nothing at all. I don't think being Tim should do it. I feel like I'm paying the yard guy, and he's hanging out with my wife at my pool drinking my beer. In the meantime, I'm pushing the mower. And at some point I figured out, maybe I should be hanging out at the pool with drinking the beer, and he should be pushing the mower. Maybe y'all can do your job. And I know y'all got a wood chipper, and last time I was here, last 2 times, I mentioned that I've never seen that thing be used. Maybe you can break it out and crank it up one time, and maybe we can get the road cleaned up.
You could soup it up for us, couldn't you?
And maybe do your job. And I got tired of watching. I count 11, 12 guys holding shovels all day long, looking down a hole, and riding around these trucks all day. And I just kind of wonder what they do all day long. You got 75 employees on the payroll. You kind of wonder if they do some work every now and then.
Cece, you enjoy streets. You all mind taking a look over there in the next file to see if there's some things that we need
Don't
to
mind,
do.
you can go up this first.
All right, that's what we'll do.
Maybe I hate to bother people, but
You made your point, and we're glad you're getting better down. And we
well, I don't know if I'm gonna get better or not, but it'd be nice to get the place cleaned up.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we can go into a public hearing on the amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance. I declare the public hearing open. Ask if anybody's dying to get up to speak, yea or nay. Is it on anybody's radar? It's pretty much procedural. Anybody want to talk about the UDO amendment? Who's in best position just to give us the executive? I know it's in amendments and stuff, but
I can do it.
yeah, tell us just very.
Essentially, in this, you've just seen the definition of a technicality, is just to clear up an oversight when the UDO was put into place that did not perhaps clearly enough state the town's intent to keep the Board of Adjustment as its appointed planning board as well. So this just has the effect of doing that and makes a slight amendment to the UDO to put that into place. It also ratifies any acts that were taken by the Board of Adjustment sitting as planning board in that intervening period of time. And that's really its sole intent.
Do we have any other real options?
I mean, only if there's some other notion about how you want to have your planning board constituted, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Is there any notions like that floating around?
Not to my knowledge.
Anybody else want to be heard? Declare the public hearing closed and back in open session. I'll put it to the board as to how they want to go from here on this. If there was a motion to be made, John,
Just be to adopt the ordinance as presented, Mr. Mayor.
so moved. Second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Now, let's move on, resolution authorizing the refinancing the debts on town properties. John, keep going.
Mr. Mayor, this is a resolution that the board has seen before, and any time that it is moving into an LGC approval process for a loan package. This one is to go with the LGC application for a proposed refinancing that we'll be bringing before the board at the next meeting for the existing debt on this building, the police department building, and the public works building. It's just a simple, it's required by the LGC as part of their application package. It just simply says you intend to pursue a better rate in refinancing those properties, and they're asking the LGC for their approval.
Are we expecting to get a better rate? Motion to that effect, John, you want to tell us what to say?
We simply, again, do a motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
Make a motion to adopt the resolution as presented.
Any discussion?
What's the current rate that we're paying?
4.17.
0.17 for the mill rate.
4.17, and we're looking at a rate to be underneath 3.
Are we hiring some company to do
We're
this?
using Davenport Associates.
What is Davenport? How much are we paying Davenport?
I think for the refinancing, their base charge is 17,000.
And that's on each one of these things. These different refinancing. It was they were gonna give us the best loan for the ABC store.
No, that's it. Obviously, what we went through.
Now, that Davenport, I mean, these same three properties were in with the ABC store property.
No. It was marketed as separate packages, but to get a better rate from placing two separate packages with the same institution. The ABC store was always separate.
Let me ask you this.
They were in the same public hearing, though, and that
Well, they're not
was,
going to be rolled in as part of the same overall financing with one loan, turned them into one loan?
No, it would have been one loan with two different segments. And the refinancing rate would have always been better.
Oh, I cut you off.
That's all right. I just, we're paying $16,000 to refinance this thing. From, what, about 1 percentage point? Are we really saving money if we're hiring a company to go out here and keep doing this?
Oh, sure, over the life of, I think there's, 11 years left on the loan in there, right, John? The projections show we'll save over $300,000 in interest.
Well, let me ask you this, do we not have local expertise rather than hiring?
What is the necessity of a specialist?
I don't understand.
Necessity.
Meaning the Davenport.
Oh,
I mean, we've got three pieces of property, obviously. We not go to a bank and
well,
say.
and I hesitate to say this, it's sort of like lawyers and architects, they make money coming in as well as going out, but Davenport was the agency that we hired to do the initial placement in '09, and we financed all of this. But getting back to what I think is your basic question is that, no, they had to prepare a package as if it is a new application for review by the local government commission, even though it's a basic refinance.
So do we have a bill that we, does Davenport send us a statement for the services rendered on the most recent?
Their payment will be washed out basically with the settlement, and we settle with whatever the bank is chosen and approved by the LGC. Their fee would be settled in.
Paid then?
Paid.
Who is Davenport?
It's a multi-state financial review and assistance company. They have an office in Raleigh that is staffed by Bob High. Bob used to be in a different life the assistant treasurer of the state of North Carolina, back when Harlan Boyles was treasurer. And so that's the other thing you're buying is access.
For the unsuccessful recent attempt on the ABC store location, are we gonna have to pay Davenport $16,000?
No, in fact, I haven't seen, they had cost, and there's some cost that they had invested in, but I haven't seen the final statement of that. But at any rate, the concept of refinancing an existing loan is basically we had financed originally for a 15-year term, and we were refinancing down, it would be about 11 years to finish it up the note. And during that time period, we estimate by their financial projections, we'll save somewhat over $300,000 in interest.
So we're not looking to extend the payback time, just
No,
to lower
no, in
the
fact, the local government commission
won't let you do that. That's a true, that's basically. What do we need, John?
You have a motion on the floor and seconded to approve, so.
Further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? So noted. Item C, ordinance concerning trespassing on the Nequossie now. Now you're on a roll.
Mr. Mayor, this is, and this one really should be marked draft, this is my best guess based on discussion that the board had several meetings ago about the desire to see an ordinance regulating use of and entry to the mound. So I bring it before you for consideration and discussion, certainly not necessarily passage immediately to you.
Do we, as a board, want to just totally eliminate the situation where family and kids or something may want to be on the Indian mound?
Well, how do we handle that now? In other words, does different groups come and ask the city if they can go down there and visit? It's just open to the public, right?
The only groups, yeah, it's basically just open to the public. The only groups that come in the past have asked for specific access or tied to a specific purpose, like when Bill Evans was doing his mound project and brought in a fellow from Western Carolina University with ground penetrating radar. We gave a specific approval for that, for instance. But for the most part, it's people just park. If the moon strikes them up, they go.
And is that something that we really want to go out of our way to prohibit?
Are we having a problem? I'm not okay with it.
I mean, obviously, over time,
Something maybe.
I rode a bicycle off there when I was a teenager, but I don't think I heard it. It's pretty much, we're finding out things pretty durable.
I used to swear on
Oh, yeah, yeah. I just don't want us to say no if we don't have to say no.
Of course, there is the liability of just leaving it open and
Yeah, but there's liability to it. Any situation. I don't think we're leaving something that's a attractive nuisance or whatever, but I'm just wondering, I'm just thinking if there's not really a problem, I don't want.
ordinances.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
thinking.
we just, an ordinance to death, let's do it.
But, hold on.
Oh, no, I had a couple of suggestions here, and, one would be that I'd like to make a motion, there's no further discussion, we table this because this is, or either hold a public hearing, because it belongs basically to the public. And I'd like to hear some input from the public.
Given the fact that it's a draft ordinance, I don't believe there's any anticipation of there being any formal action today. I believe it's just a point of discussion. Right. And so we'll let it, any more discussing on it?
Has there been any issues with the police department or anything besides the normal wrecks that happen down there?
The one big wreck.
And that probably would have happened if this
Yeah,
ordinance or not.
I don't think the mound's played a big part in that, it's the repository of the truck.
If someone violates that, is that up to the town police to enforce?
No, I don't believe it's necessary to put it to a motion. I think this is just a discussion.
Yeah, this is just a discussion, but if we had that ordinance, who would enforce it?
It would be left to our police.
So it's
to
part.
enforce. I mean, at the moment, if they drove right by now and there's somebody standing on the top of it turning cartwheels, there is no ordinance against that, and otherwise it's just open.
They're up there partying.
I think there's some federal laws that could come into play though,
Somebody come up,
because it is under the National Historic Preservation Act, and there are penalties for that. Rather serious penalties.
Oh,
I don't know.
Could be.
What if somebody took a shovel up there like Bill Evans but didn't ask nobody? They started digging around. I mean, I guess that's injury to real property. I don't know.
So now, Bill never dug in.
I didn't say he did. I was making,
yes, you did.
I was using Bill as an example.
I think you might have that sort of,
I know.
you might have that sort of destruction of public property as like a civil matter between the town and whoever, but there's no ordinance against it.
If somebody got that mad, they're gonna dig it anyway. I mean, you're just gonna have to possibly get into it anyway.
Oh, and Alderman Scott, you had asked about the penalty for this. There is a default penalty that a police power ordinance like this goes to that is, it's like a class 3 misdemeanor, and I think it's, unless you specify it's more than a $50 fine, it's at a $50 fine. So this ordinance is a lot like the one that, in fact, it's really just based on the one that the board passed a year or so ago for Memorial Park. Just sort of regulating the times, and it didn't set a penalty, so it's like this one would be if enacted. It has that minimum penalty.
Anything else as far as tonight on this line item? Okay. We're going on to the new business. Discussion on nuisance and related ordinances for the town. Looks like it's pretty close to what we're talking about in a way.
It is, and I guess we're gonna have to table that because I'd asked Chief Adams to be here tonight to discuss these.
He's up at the school with his child.
Okay, well, if it's agreeable with the board, could we just hold it to September?
Motion to table to September.
Yeah, if that's okay with the board, since basically he had the material that we need to discuss now.
So there's a motion to table, Farrell, is that a second?
Yes.
All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. CC?
I think all of us know for the last 6 to 7 months that we have had issues that have been facing this board that have helped to tear us apart, helped to really create problems, and I think it's time we get on with business and get back to what we're doing. And I felt compelled, after our July meeting, I think after I thought about it a while, I felt compelled to write a letter to the editor. And this is a letter to the editor, and I'll give it to him after I read it. When we read it. Enough is enough. Recently, I had the opportunity to sit down with the DOT and the Sidewalks Committee to discuss the sidewalk project. It was so nice to be able to sit down with the group, discuss a joint project, and come to a consensus without the project being torn apart. The past 6 to 7 months, the town board has been consumed with 3 issues that have kept them from moving forward as it should have been doing. All of us have opinions, and we may have differences of opinions, which is fine. However, I do have a problem when we do not have the same facts. So I took it on myself to find out my own information, and I would like to discuss these 3 issues. The first one is the rumble. When this event was approved by the TDA, immediately there was opposition before any facts were presented. Granted, the rumble has had its bumps in the road, but fortunately those bumps or issues have been resolved, and there will be a motorcycle rally. Until we have gone through one rally, how else will we know the economic impact on our community or the success of the rally? The second one, the mound. Yes, the mound was sprayed. When the town board was made aware that the mound had been indeed sprayed, it was the town board's obligation to see that the mound would be reseeded. This is being taken care of as we speak. I still contend it was not done maliciously, and we did not owe an apology. I have problems with anyone or any group who demands an apology. The mound is not ours. It belongs to the people of the town of Franklin, and it is not for sale or to be looted. Let's stop stirring the pot, and enough is enough. The proposed ABC store. The ABC board has been looking to build or buy a site for years. Across the state, many towns or counties are going into public-private ventures with real estate. It was at this point the ABC board came to the town to see if the board would be interested in a venture of this type. At the same time, the town was also looking at refinancing some larger loans to lower interest and could possibly include this project. A committee of ABC members and town board members was appointed to come up with a site. After looking at several locations and visiting stores throughout the region, the committee decided on the site at the Bright Myers complex. This complex is also the site of the new Walmart. When ABC stores were being compared across the region, cost of the stores ran between $1 million and $1.2 million to build or buy. The Walmart location would cost $1.2 million to buy. Yes, that is a lot of money. The town would combine the ABC loan with their refinancing to hopefully get a better rate for the ABC board. Initially, the town would borrow the $1.2 million to pay the Bright Myers developers, and the ABC board would pay the town monthly installments from the alcohol sales. No tax monies would be used. The monthly installments had been budgeted in the ABC store's monthly expenses, and no monies would be going out of town. At our July meeting, in our public session, apples to oranges were being compared, not apples to apples. None of the gentlemen who spoke had gone to the ABC store and asked for a budget, a daily finance sheet, or comparison of all the stores in our western area. Our store was being compared to a store that had never paid rent. They have owned their store since 1964 and just happened to be the only ABC store west of Waynesville for many years. When you take the $70,000 our store is paying to the town and the $74,400 paid in rent, that is a chunk of money. Our store will never come close to the profit margin our neighbor has as long as our store leases. I take issue with the gentleman saying the store is poorly managed. I strongly recommend these gentlemen go to the ABC board and find out for themselves, not on the internet. As we all know, this did not work out, and the store will remain at its present location. A lease has been signed with the developer, and these monies will continue to go out of town. The monthly rent will be $6,820 per month, or $81,840 yearly. This amount includes the 10% raise, which was never negotiable as stated in the media. I urge everyone to put these issues to rest and move forward for the benefit of our community. Enough is enough. Thank you.
Anything else? We got plenty of time, short agenda. Everybody got the opportunity, they want to bring up anything?
Just a quick update on the Whitmire property. We're in the process of writing the purchase order. Company out of Islip will remove that asbestos. Our attorney, John Hennig, there is working on an agreement, to make sure we get an agreement up front that they're gonna do it for that price. Once we get that, get the PO to them, it'll take about 10 days to get the permit from Department of Health in Raleigh, and then we'll go ahead with that. And once we get that removed, we'll turn it over to the fire department in Southwest for training, exercise, and burn. And after it's burned, then we need to decide what we want to do as far as further cleanup.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We're working on that, the sidewalk project down on Depot Street, and we're, looking at right-of-ways now and having them ready telephone poles and electrical poles and all that kind of stuff, so we don't know what we're doing, how far we're gonna go.
On the discussion on the nuisance and related ordinances in town, just expand on that just a little bit, since the chief's not here. Sometime back, the town board voted to allow the police department to put in a rather sophisticated software. For example, if you go out and you steal copper wire, you take it down here and you sell it, which I don't think you would do. But
Neither would Bill Evans.
No.
But we got to use an example, right?
But anyhow, these businesses would report that through, and it would go into a database that the police could search. Steve, if I get off base on this, let me know. And it's kind of like when pawn shops, when you take something down to a pawn shop, it's entered into a database, and then police agencies get that and they can see it as something that's been stolen. Well, what the problem with this is, it's a great system and all that, but there's no penalty if you don't follow it. If I pretty well talked about what that leads is, okay. And the other is, sometimes you can have a neighborhood that people get very, very rowdy about, and they're just sort of, John, on the edge of the law. Just a little not on the edge of the law to where the police really can't do anything about it. And so that was why I was going to have Chief Adams here tonight to talk about some of these situations and what the board might look at as far as some kind of penalty for skating on the edge, shall we say, between doing something criminal and singing the church choir. It's something between.
There's an article I'm going to send to the board. It's a blog post from the School of Government's blog on local government law that talks about nuisance and some of the different. There's basically two kinds. You either have a nuisance that comes under the nuisance power, or one defined in police power. There are a lot of pitfalls in doing it as under the nuisance power because there's no process behind it. Like there's a lot of enforcement problems with trying to do it in the police power process, because then you have to go through the court system for anything. But I don't know that most of anything that's nuisance has to do with the use of land, not really behavior on it. And so I really think that if the board is inclined to do something along those lines, the closest thing that there is to what you're talking about is an ordinance. And the town has one such as it is, but the shape it's in, it's just, you couldn't enforce it.
That's the question. Such as it is the issue.
Well, it's pretty complicated to, I've taken a look at several area noise ordinances. The town of Williamsville has what seems to be a good one, but it's involved. You have to define what exactly it is you mean, and how you're gonna go about enforcing it, and then when you do, I think that they're notoriously difficult to enforce. So,
There's one thing about
a way to begin to think about what the town can do about it.
situations change, but ordinances change much slower.
I got a question, Bob. What percentage of the pawn shops and stuff we have in Franklin are not reported? Are all of them reported, we just don't know if they're reporting everything?
The pawn shops, as far, I've been away from it for 7 or 8 years, so I don't know, but when I was dealing with those pawn shop tickets, what we had was, we had to go down and actually get the paper, the carbon copy, but now all that's being computerized.
Yeah, I know it's computerized,
I don't-
because
To answer your
we
question,
use
I
the
don't know.
one the sheriff department's got, searching for things stolen,
Well,
houses that
yeah.
were burned.
But what we did, we took the carbon copy, if you pawned something, we took, and then we entered it into a database that we designed. But all that's changed, I'm sure.
So an ordinance would require them to enter
Yeah.
into the computer.
Yeah, and Silva has such an ordinance. I attached it to the memo I sent to the board talking about why we were gonna have to talk about this. So you may still have that on, if you don't, I'll send it to you.
I've got that what you said.
Yeah, that's Silva's ordinance.
Okay.
Sam, is it still just very selective for the men though? Coming up tonight, uptown hill, there's a section that's just ratty, it's in front of Strickland's properties, it's between the sidewalk and the gutter and stuff, and it's just, why is there not
All
some
the other
consistency
private
there?
property owners into there are cutting.
Did we not put the word out though that we were gonna cut those that weren't getting cut?
As the last resort, all DOT property.
I think it's August in the summertime, Sam, it's pretty close to the last resort. And is there no attention given to the sidewalks anymore? In case in point, go up Iowa Street North. Some of that sidewalk is totally consumed, totally taken over by limbs, and other parts is just almost impassable. It's in our city limits. Just appears to have not been getting any attention at all.
They're working their way through the maintenance list.
I'm already talking about it's
I
growing
mean,
out.
you know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Well, up on
Maple
our
Street was
street.
the same way, I actually went through there.
I'm
got
sure
back and removed some off of that. I mean, it was barbed wire hanging out. in the middle.
Is there a way we can divvy up the maintenance and put it in
Yeah.
2 different crews or something to speed it up?
It's just as fast for them to take the fruit out of their hair and put it on the time.
Could possibly, if, I know you can't do it because it's a private property, but if it's going out over the curb into the street, can we not do it up at least to the curb?
Would you label that as a nuisance?
Pardon?
Would you label that as a nuisance?
I think it's a nuisance.
It is.
To not have sidewalk. I mean, walking out from my office to town is bad enough because the trees are taking it over, but it's much worse north of my office on down towards Depot Street Extension. It's just lost down through there. And that's, Farrell, you say you saw Maple Street, you say,
There's a
deal.
corner.
Right.
It's right there at the Dickens office.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Who is
just,
that? I mean, who?
I guess she's the widow. This Frank's widow down in Birmingham was the last I heard of. She could have transferred it and not, I wouldn't know about it,
But they mow part of it, don't they? It's just
They
one
mow
side. they
three
don't mow.
sides.
They mow 3 sides.
Yeah, they have a lawn care company that takes care of it, but for some reason they don't do that one.
Well, at one point in time, we had momentum on this, we had edging, and we had stuff, and we've just lost all of that. And
But once again, the delineator is the private property versus public property.
it's a different standard today than what we had back when we had the momentum. And I'm not sure the board's comfortable with a different standard. I mean,
It's definitely needing upgrading.
yeah.
I know we don't want to do for the private when other people are going out of their way, but at what point do we have to step in? That looks awful.
That has private, that town, the people drive by, they don't care whether it's private.
They don't know what's going
They just
on.
know it looks like.
Mhm.
There's a lot of areas out there that are really bad, and a lot of people have cleaned it up, but there are things that are still not cleaned up too, so.
During the growing season, the summer months, can we not hire college students who are looking for a little extra income? I know there's all this liability issue, but it seems like we somehow or other have cut college students out of working during the summer because of liability. Could we not put a couple of 4, 5, 6 young people to work, kind of like the what's the forest service program? Young, where they hire.
They've got
young
2
people.
programs. They've got one for the young kids that are in college and stuff. They've also got it for the elderly.
That's my age group
Yeah.
you're speaking of.
Works on that.
Yes, yeah. I think they call it the elderly.
Boy, it is. I know several of them. I know several of them work for
So
trade.
Dan, it's not just dogwood that I guess it's not getting the attention. Yeah.
Bob, you could probably get volunteers to do that. I will tell you, this last weekend, I was out with my 8-year-old out trimming some branches that were hanging down where I mow. I was done after cutting them, and then I had to spend 5 or 6 hours cutting them small enough that if you guys did something that even on the private property would pick up the trash at the curb line and mulch it or something, or whatever you did with it, that would allow private property owners to take some of that cleanup on their own property. And I'm telling you, it took 5 minutes to cut the stuff, but it took 5 hours to get rid of the stuff so that you could actually take it and burn it or whatever it would be. But I've got a young one that's off in the college market these days, getting kids to volunteer, high school kids to volunteer. That looks better on a college application than your grade point average does. Is that you were one of those, and even a letter from the town of Franklin saying that little Joe helped out this summer for X number of hours or whatever it is. Those kids need to do that. And a lot of it, I'm afraid, is kids would rather sit in bed or would rather watch TV or something else other than get out there and even volunteer.
And I think we need to look at our town liability policy just to see what we could actually do. I know when we looked at the junior firefighters down in Franklin years ago, that's why we hold it to 21 years of age, because the liability policy was some bad on that. But we ought to look at that, because if you get even volunteers to work while they're working on this property and such, you know, they've got liabilities of something they may do, as well as as getting actually hurt or injured, so we need to find out.
Didn't we used to have at least once a year cleanup, that the trucks would come by and pick up leaves and limbs and?
They're supposed to
They will
still be
still,
doing that.
they will still pick up brush 1 time a year on request.
We just probably need to let that.
It needs to be put in the
Right.
paper,
Right.
because people aren't aware that they can make a phone call.
I wish they would check.
They've got chip.
We've got chippers and use it.
And I invite you all to come up Clover Lane and see an old man's work clearing the.
We'd love to come
roadway.
see it, thank you.
Who you talking about? You? Live out there working? There's a lot of issues that we have a lot of.
That we're in agreement with.
We've got to at least file that grant. What else we got?
Well, I've got
Motion by Burrow.
I second.
Wow, finally got some new.
All right, all in favor, raise your hand.